All right, what I'm gonna do is share this on Facebook.
Okay.
Oh, that's not the right thing. This will take me a minute here to figure
Did we
out.
did we get a lot of people to that watch the last one or listen to it?
I think so.
Okay. What's going to happen if my son walks in? They're going to mess everything up.
Well, I mean, he'll be live. You'll just tell him, "Hey, you're live on Uniquelahoma" or something.
All right, let me text him.
Yeah, that's probably a good plan right there. You should text him. My wife doesn't like it when I surprise her with, "Hey, you're live."
Oh, that's so funny.
She might come in the room and start telling me something really personal. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're live."
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I imagine she doesn't take that well.
Yeah, that's understandable. I'll give her that. Okay, I'm about to share this on Facebook. It's funny because Facebook is not loading.
That's weird.
Okay.
Oh, a buddy of mine, I loaned him a paint gun to paint his van.
Yeah.
And he just sent me a text and goes something. All I got was some negative jargon. I'm not really sure that's a good. See what he says here. Oh my God, that's horrible. I'm afraid I did such a poor job spraying that I may have to almost start over in some places. How long can I leave my masking tape on?
That sounds terrible.
Oh my God, you got to see. He's got runs in the fiddle.
Yeah, and be careful what you read. We're on live now, so.
Okay. If we're on live, can I text?
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm trying to close some extra windows I don't need.
Okay.
I should have probably done this beforehand. But for whatever reason, Facebook won't load, so.
Oh, so we're not live yet?
Well, we're live on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
And all I'm going to do is share the YouTube link to Facebook, which is going to work better than what we tried last time. I think I'll come back, I'll edit this video.
Okay.
And repost the interesting parts to Facebook.
Okay.
Close that.
Let me know when you're ready, brother.
Yeah, I'm getting closer.
Okay.
My goodness, Facebook is just like so slow today. Okay. My gosh. It's like doing something, but it's not doing it in any kind of hurry for anything. Oh. That was definitely not what we wanted here. There we go. It's like trying to do all this extra stuff. Like, I don't know what the page story is. That's new. I'm just trying to post a link. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say we're ready. Did I lose you? Oh, I lost him. Oh, there you are.
I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything.
I think your internet just kind of
Just,
went backwards for a minute.
well, I'm here now, brother.
Okay, so we were talking about some interesting stuff. Now, I had asked you about some different, I don't know what the right word is, maybe qualities of writing, or I don't know if you'd call it that. I think it's more like, if we're talking about quality, I think that's the wrong word to use because it indicates there's, um, when you think of quality, it's like quality control or something. I'm thinking more along the lines of, it's
Why do
almost like
some
a
stories have
style.
more? Why do some stories have more personality than others?
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good question right there, and that's probably fits what we're trying to talk about right now. So,
Well, like like we were talking about earlier, that visual component for me is about, it's about 35 to 40% of any story. So, and you lose that, or you lose part of that uh, when you're not there, when you do a phone interview, which is unfortunately how we end up doing a lot of those because of the circumstances, you know, of Uniquelahoma at this point. And sometimes you can get the person that you're interviewing to really elaborate on what they're doing, and you can grab a lot of that visualization from what they're saying.
right.
Um, Nothing like um, um, being there. And I was going to tell you a story about I was when I was a reporter for a newspaper, and I was covering a court story, and this guy he was convicted, been convicted for murder, and he was this was for sentencing, and I was there, and I remember we were all in the courtroom. It was packed, and outside the windows it was storming outside. It was like really gray and overcast and really gloomy, and um, and and I it seemed like such a fitting backdrop to what was going on. To this guy's getting ready to be sentenced to probably life in prison. And so when I wrote the story, I was able to take um, what was going on, the weather, and use it to lay the groundwork for what was going to happen to this guy. And it made a lot of um, it made for a really in-depth emotional story, um, because it was almost like the people who weren't there felt like they were there, because you can picture. I mean, you can picture that gloom and that feeling of when it's gloomy and overcast, and it's almost like nature's depressed or whatever, if you want to put it that way. And so you get that feeling, and you bring it to the story, which is a lot different than just saying, this morning, uh, on such and such a date, judge, so and so sentenced, the defendant, to 20 years to life. Uh,
Well, what's funny, and it's kind of like an inappropriate time to laugh, because I understand what you're saying, but it reminds me of that story you did in the paper about the police burning the marijuana.
oh yeah, which
Uh,
was which was a great. That's another great example of being able to take the surroundings, um, and turn that into something that's much more than just a news story. So, um, it was a golden opportunity, and
yeah,
and so when I was there and they were burning it, and we were, they were laughing, and there was jokes going on, and you could have, everything was going on. Um, so when I sit down, I take this very serious subject. Okay. And I don't, the marijuana field they eradicated was like millions and millions of dollars in street value. Okay. And so I'm taking this very serious subject, and I thought, I want to have some fun with this, because when I was on scene, when I was out there, that's what they were doing. They were having fun with it. We were laughing and joking, and it's, and they were teasing me about, they don't know me if I get pulled over on the way back, or, and so it was a very, and so it was a very, even though it was a serious thing, there was some humor there, and I thought, I'm going to add that to the story. So the first several paragraphs of the story, or the first several sentences of the first paragraph, or first couple of paragraphs, were written using nothing but marijuana slang. Okay.
Yeah.
And slang and turned it into story form. And you had people come into my office and were like, this is just great, because it was so different than anything else they had read. And when you take something like that and you turn it into an enjoyment, as opposed to county detective, or county officials burned $3.5 million worth of street value marijuana, in a field located in a rural area. Who cares? I mean, that's like, I don't care. I'm going to skip over to the comics, But when you write, when you do it, and they hang on to the next line because it's funny, yet at the same time it's interesting and it's informative. I mean, you've more than reached your objective.
Yeah.
And I've used that same technique my entire career, so I know it works, and that's what I strive for with Uniquelahoma. It's that not everything is comical. I don't mean that, but everything is interesting. It can be almost like you're reading a book. You don't want to set it down. You want to see what happens next, and that's where we're going. That's what I try to do when I write a story. And it's a little more difficult to do that through a phone interview. And there's just, because it takes away so much of the visual aspect of it. And sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get somebody they're so excited about what they're doing that they basically describe every detail. And so you can just take it and use it. But most people aren't that way. They're busy, they do the story because they need the exposure, they want it, but they're not really on that side of high. And so and that's running to that a lot, which makes it difficult, which was obviously not what I had set out when Uniquelahoma Brainchild was born. I mean, it was in my mind, it was about going and traveling to these places in Oklahoma and going and seeing these things, and that costs money, and that costs.
No, I mean, it's like you're going to make that connection, that real life connection, and the goal is to you make that connection, and then you bring that out to everybody else that reads the page or watches a video or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's something that they can experience without having to go do themselves, or they could, let's say it's even a location, it's like you can kind of vet that location a little bit for them.
Right.
It's kind of
right. We did that. We, with the Territorial Plaza, and see, that's just one of those that, I had spoken to the one of the men that's responsible for that, making that whole plaza, its existence, made it possible, and he was very interesting, but it was not the same when I went up there and I actually got to walk in Pistol Pete's house, and I got to get on these trains that used to run, in the early part of the, of the century, and get that feel, and see an old schoolhouse, and the blackboard and the little desk and everything from another generation, from a whole other time that was gone before I was even born. So, and I was able to, at least hopefully convey what that's like, because I was there. I saw it. I felt it. I could smell it. It's all there. And, because of the way things have gone so far, we've been limited as to what we can do with that. And but we always continue to work and keep striving to reach that goal where we have that visual aspect with every story, no matter where it might be in the state.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as far as it's like communicating with our fans. I mean, I think I think I was saying earlier, I mean, we probably could count the number of fans that we have on our hands. And they're the people that come back all the time. They're always sharing our stuff. They love what we do. And it's still, we're kind of new. I mean, we're new to the game. We're still figuring things out. We're still trying to figure out the revenue side of things so we can afford to do what you're talking about. Right. And it's hard because it's like, well, do we keep doing the phone interviews, or do we try to say, hey, let's head out to wherever and just, we have to wait an extra month or something. And that's why like stories from Eric are taking so long. Because he travels to where he writes his stories about. So
right, which ultimately makes the stories better. I mean, that's the goal is to be there and to experience it and then convey those experiences, in written form or video form back to the readers. I mean, we have what I feel like is a responsibility, with Uniquelahoma to share all the things that the state has to offer. And when I say that, I mean, and I'm specifically talking about the people. Okay, so you get to, I mean, such a great thing. I mean, we live in a world of technology, but we text and but we don't really get that feeling of somebody that's across the state, even, that might live in the Panhandle or might live. And so I'm thinking, that's a great thing to be able to talk to someone or to get to know somebody that you may not ever get a chance to meet. And in some way you're going to create a connection with that person simply by reading, because something that they're doing or something that they say is, it's gonna, it's, who knows what it's going to do? What it's going to stick with you in some regard. And I think that's one of the things that Uniquelahoma can do, it does do, on a limited point right now. So that's where we want to go. I mean, that's where we want to continue to go.
Right.
So, easier said than done at this point, I think. So.
Well, yeah, and that's why we set up the Patreon and stuff to try and help facilitate that. It just like we said, we're only, if we count the true fans on our hands right now, it's very low.
Right.
But I think that has a lot to do with distribution and we're getting the word out and stuff.
I think that's a lot of the issues that we're having. I mean, we have really great response to everything that we do. Okay, so but then I just don't think people connect with what we're really doing or with what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, because what we're doing is completely positive. I mean, it connects people. It informs people. There's no negativity. There's no politics. It's all positive. It's all about focusing on this great state that we live in and all the attributes that we have and the incredible people that live here. And I'm like, that's a great thing. If you walked up on the street and had that conversation with somebody, they would look at you and go, I think that's a great idea. But for some reason, we have this disconnect between, the website and the public. And I don't understand that. And I'm not sure that you do, because I know we've had, a lot of discussions about where's the disconnect, what's going on, and why do people not.
Well, I think, I think that distribution really covers, a big part of it, because I mean, the easy thing to do is to say, let's just start publishing the kind of, junk news, fake news, whatever, that we know
Right.
people will read. And fart jokes or whatever.
Right.
Because that gets its own built-in distribution. There's just people share that easier, I think, on a certain level. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't even see that stuff because it's not what they care about. And I guess, ultimately we care about the audience that is not in that category.
Right.
Is not looking for the fart joke or whatever terrible thing it is.
I mean, we want to, and I believe there's a substantial audience out there that would really appreciate what we're doing and what we're trying to do, if they just understood what we're doing. And I think that's a lot of where we've had trouble, had issue is they just don't understand. And it's like you meet someone and you get a few seconds to explain, it's a magazine, it's online, it's all positive. Okay. Yeah, to me that makes perfect sense because I know exactly what I'm talking about, but to someone else they may not. And you don't always get that opportunity to take 5 or 10 minutes and say, hey, let's go look at a story. And I think a lot of people they see the name or they look at the card and they don't take it any further. But if they did, I think they'd be hooked. I don't really see what's not to like, I guess.
Well, and that's part of the problem with, when you're creating something, it's like you see the best parts of it. And I think one of the things that, sometimes when I watch, discussion that people are having about, what they create or, their YouTube channel or some website they made, the thing that I think that they kind of fall into the trap of is, well, I'm going to blame the audience. The audience, it's their fault for not getting it. And I think we have to try and avoid that because at the end of the day, part of our job is to create something, whether that's, on the distribution level or the content, create something that people do kind of intrinsically understand and can connect with. I don't know, I think we've done the content part, but I don't think the distribution is quite there yet.
That's what I mean. I certainly don't think it's the audience. I think that I just don't think that that they're aware of it. I don't think they go and just say, I don't like it. I think that they just don't know what's there because we haven't been able to promote it in the way that we had hoped in the beginning. It's obviously turned out to be a much more difficult task than either one of us, thought. But it's, I don't know. I mean, I would like to say there's an obvious answer that we're missing. I don't know if there is. I really don't know what. If there is, if somebody's listening and you want to tell us, I'm more than happy to listen.
Leave a comment below.
Leave a comment and tell us what we're doing wrong. Because I really don't. I mean, I don't know, but I do think the response that I get from people when I do stories on them is extremely positive and very energetic, and they share it and they and so
and we see a lot of traffic from people that share, and we can tell when they share because we get traffic from sources that aren't our own shares, and then it's like, okay, there's a little nice boost. I think it's kind of interesting. People come and read like, oh, that's my friend, I'm gonna go read their story, and then I don't know if that's where they stop, and maybe it's like, oh, I just read my friend's story, that's cool, and that's
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's all they're interested in. But and if that is the problem, I don't know that has a solution and what that is. I mean, obviously, there are people that are just not readers. They just don't like, but I feel like there's a a large potential audience out there of people that would really enjoy reading articles, on a variety of subjects and people that we have. And again, I just would like to know what the disconnect is, or what we're doing wrong. That's, I guess, what I would like to know.
Yeah, and maybe that's something we can't currently answer. Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of, we're talking about this. I'm thinking about different things that come to mind. Some of the sites that I've done that are, I'm not going to say more successful because they don't have the same numbers we have, but they have more steady growth.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference there is always, maybe the content's actually terrible, but the content is coming out consistently. And we did the last year very consistent content. I just wonder, maybe we actually have to step that up, and maybe it's like one article a week's not enough. And we kind of talked about that, trying to get to the point where at maybe 3 articles a week or something.
Right, and I think that would be a huge help. But then again, I mean, we go back to just the basic fundamentals of life. I mean, you have to eat, and so we both work. You have other responsibilities and things go on, and so it's very difficult. And you and I put in, I think, a lot of hours on different levels and different ways for this site. But I think it's very difficult to devote the kind of time that we would both like to devote. You have to go to work, and you have all these other things that go on and other responsibilities that take away. And I don't know what the solution to that is.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because it's like, I know for, especially for you specifically, we're trying to get to the point where you can, focus on this full time. Right. And it's like, man, that's actually a really hard barrier to break, to overcome the, just the daily need for, hey, you've got to make X many dollars every month just to exist.
Right. And I do believe, in stepping out on faith, and I've done that, doing this now. But you have, at the same time, I mean, I can't just jump in a car every day and just drive. I'm going to drive to Oklahoma City today and Bartlesville tomorrow, and Midwest City the day after that. And because your responsibilities are still there waiting, and that's one of the problems that we have.
Yeah, talking about stories that you kind of enjoyed writing a little more. Did you actually met with Larry Schaefer, and sat in his office? I did too. Now, was that one that you connected with more because you were in his office? You met with him,
right? Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm in his office and completely surrounded by memorabilia that goes all the way back to the late 60s. Okay, through his career, famous people and pictures and guitars and instruments and all these things.
It's literally like coming out of his ears. I mean, every wall was covered, and it was like 4 or 5 guitars deep and gold records deep. I mean, it was pretty insane just to see.
So and everything on those walls in and of itself is a story.
Yeah.
So you're going through and you're looking at all this, and then you ask him a question, and then I say, hey, well, tell me about this. Okay, that in and of itself becomes a little anecdote that he talks about. He starts talking about this, and that segues into something else, and so on. And so you're actually connected with this part of history, because you can see it, you can touch it, and you can talk to the person who lived it. That's an amazing, you're not going to get that over the phone. You're not going to get that, you're going to get it any other way, but to personally interact with that person. And that's the thing with, whether they're building something or whatever they're doing, if you're there and you're with them, you're actually watching that come alive. I did that with the woodcarver story. You know, I mean, I was there and I watched him, and he, you know, took the chainsaw and chiseled and made something right before my eyes. And I'm like, wow. So if you actually become a part of his creation. I mean, you're there, and I'm there, and I'm taking pictures, and I'm watching him, and I can smell the wood, and I can, I can see the wood chips flying, and what does that make me think of? And so you have all these visual images that you take, that I took away from that story.
Well,
Um,
I think actually, I mean, just based on what you said, I'm like hearing, smell and touch and sight and everything. It's like you get a sensory placement that you
every,
don't have over the phone. And,
right,
and
everything.
even like Larry Schaefer's office, I mean, it had a smell to it because they're in there smoking cigars, but there's
Right.
also like the smell of like raw performance sweat and
Yeah,
stuff that just you don't get
right.
everywhere.
Yeah, and all of those little details come into play when you write. And and it was like, when I was watching the wood carver, he had long hair. Okay, and so he's out there, and he's running that saw, and that hair is kind of blowing in the wind, and those chips are blowing. Okay, well, if you've ever been to an '80s rock concert, the sparks are flying and the hair is flying. I'm like, oh my god, this is the same thing. I mean, they're up on the stage creating art, you know, live art for the audience, and this guy's doing the same thing. He's doing it for me, and so I was able to take that, incorporate that into, an image of almost being on stage and the hair flying and all that. So I think
Yeah, that's
that's,
cool.
that, and that's what you get. That's what you get from actually being there, and it was the same with the bakery. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, from I stepped out of my car, walked a few feet across the parking lot and into a completely different world, a world full of smells and that were just unbelievable. I mean, baked bread and croissants, and I'm like, oh my god. Okay, all of a sudden, my nose is alive, my senses come alive. My taste buds are salivating. I'm like, and
Yeah,
that's,
that was like Esperanza or something like that.
yeah, Esperanza, because you're not going to get that over the phone. You're not going to smell what that bread's, baking bread smells like, or get to see her interact with a customer. And I remember, one of the customers had come in and was just complimenting her and thanking her on she'd picked up some things, and I think had taken them to a work party or something, and
Yeah,
how they'd gone over so well. Hey, you don't hear that in a phone interview. You don't hear that, um, you know, really secondhand. It's something you have to experience and see for yourself. And how that lady reacted, how both parties, reacted to that, to that exchange, and it's just everything. I mean, you get something that you don't get from phone interviews, and that's, I'm not a big fan. They're, it's phone interviews are really good if you're a reporter on the beat and you gotta get a story, and you've got a couple of facts, and you can call somebody, get some details, and then write around it and make it a story. That's what that's good for. But when you really
right.
want to tap into people, and you want to tap into emotion, and you want to tap to a desire that someone has, a passion that they have, you need to be there. You just have to be there, and that's one of the things that um, that's probably one of the hardest things for me about Uniquelahoma. And at times, and I'll be honest, at times it's very hard to get excited about what we're doing, because I'm like, okay, it's just another phone interview, you know, and phone interviews are also good. I mean, as follow-ups, to get basic information, but you still, in some way, you need to be involved in some way or another. You need to go to the place yourself. You need to experience something. Um,
Well,
and
that's kind of interesting. I mean, you're talking about this. It reminds me of, if I'm writing content for a website and I'm trying to make something that's meaningful, it's really easy to pump out that kind of corporate jargon We do the best
Exactly.
job, and we're so happy, and all of our customers are happy. But if you really want to write something really good, then it's like you go down to the factory floor and you run the machine, and then
That's
you,
right.
you package the product and you ship it to the customer, or you actually deliver it, and then you get a whole sense of the entire process, and you
Yeah,
can write content that's 100 times better.
absolutely. And which is exactly what what we did with when we did the story on Renaissance Brewing. I went down there, I met him, I we didn't I mean I was in the brewery. I mean, he showed me, the equipment and how it works, and explained the process and everything from, and from the tap room to how they distribute to everything. You get a sense of what's really happening. And more than that, you get a sense of how much he loves making beer, how much he loves that art, and it is an art. And you get that from his voice and his inflection and his passion. And yeah, and here's how we came up with the name for this beer. And those are things that, for instance, he was able, to talk to me about the designs on the cans of beer. Okay, I wouldn't have seen those over a phone interview. I wouldn't have known
Yeah,
what they look like. Um, so, but actually seeing them and going, okay, what's the significance of that? Oh, let me tell you. And then you go into that. But
yeah, and that
it,
that story was really popular for a long time. It showed up in the most popular list for a really long time. Which actually
so
kind of leads me into another story. The top story on our site has been the Larry Sellers, the true Native American, and you met with him. I
yeah, I
mean,
went to his house.
yeah. So that there's like pictures of you with him,
Yeah,
and you
and
spent the day with him, or what?
yeah,
What went on
we
there?
hung out, and I met his wife and his daughter, and I was walking. I was we sat on the porch and visited, and when I was in his house, and sat at his dining room table and drank coffee with him, and walked around, and I could see, I could see Native American artwork and artifacts and different things, and I could see pictures from, like he had he had signed photos from all of his cast members on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. He had those hanging in there. He had his one of the awards that he had won for uh, acting. I'm not sure what show it was, maybe in that one. So yeah, I got to intermingle in this man's life, and be a part of what goes on, and his relationship with his daughter, and I even helped his wife carry groceries in. I mean these are just these are experiences that you don't get unless you're there. Um,
Yeah,
and um, and the smell of the coffee, and I remember him, making a joke about it being strong, and and um, one of my favorite interviews. I think he was extremely hospitable, and he has a great sense of humor. He's very direct. He'll say what's on his mind, which is something that I respect. Um, um, but that just that uh, just that interaction, and that's still one of the most read stories I think that we have.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, every month it gets more and more traffic. So I mean, it's like it continues to grow, and I think a big part of that is it's something about there's that connection is in the story, and then it's just like you feel like you get to know the guy.
right, because what I try to do is convey how I felt and how comfortable around him, and how welcome he made me feel. Convey that to everyone else, because it's like, because that's exactly how I felt. It was um, very comfortable, very relaxed. I didn't feel nervous. I mean, I don't think he would have allowed me to feel nervous, if that makes sense. I mean, he wanted
Yeah,
me to feel so calm and and to be able to ask the questions that I wanted to ask, and not worry. It was just because of that kind of connection that we had of being comfortable. It's become one of my favorites. I mean, we're out on the front porch taking pictures and cell phone photos and stuff. I mean, we're just having a blast.
Yeah.
So I'm like this, and that's like they always say. I mean, they're normal people. That's exactly what it is. I mean, and it was um, like he got to talk to his daughter, because he teaches Osage language classes. So he talks to his daughter in Osage. You know how cool that is to be in the house and they're speaking a language that and I'm not talking, French, or Italian. I mean, this is an Osage Native American language. It's just it was an incredible feeling to be able to be a part of that, to witness that. There's just a lot of great, it was really one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So, we want to talk about, we're going to publish the next story. It's probably going to come out tomorrow, and it's Nathan Johns and how a mosquito can change your life.
Yes. Very odd story. And if you it's one of those things when you think, okay, how can a mosquito bite be an interesting story? I was shocked. Nathan is a very unique person. He has a very unique outlook, perspective on life, which he is completely entitled to based on what he's been through. And I don't want to give too much of the story away, but it's life, death, life again kind of thing. And it's the story in and of itself is a warning about what can happen. It's kind of one of those stories where you think it can never happen to you. But it was it's one of the most, I think probably, I don't know if bizarre is the right word, but bizarre stories I've ever written. But his just what he went through and to be able to be who he is today I thought was absolutely incredible. I just thought it was incredible. I just thought it was an incredible story, and that it's I guess a message you could say to people that you just never know. You just never know what can happen and how quickly, your life can change, based on what most of us consider to be one of the most, something so insignificant, you don't even think about it. It's an interesting, he's a fascinating guy. I'll put it to you that way. After what he's been through.
Well, I think, I don't think you should try to, and I might be wrong about this, but I think our audience for, the YouTube videos are probably going to be different than our readers. And then people that are really, really into it, they're going to read it regardless. So I think maybe you could, go into a little more detail. I think you're safe to do that.
Okay. He, just a normal guy, and had a family, was out in his backyard, and he got bitten by a mosquito, and started a few weeks, started feeling sick, started getting, got worse, went to the emergency room, and basically he was misdiagnosed, and then so they were giving him the wrong treatment. By the time they figured out that he had West Nile virus, which by the time the test came back, I mean, and there's no cure. So once once you have it, I mean, you're in a serious state, and and his health began to fail and fail. Um, things were shutting down. He became paralyzed, um, completely immobile. Was on breathing tubes. I mean, everything you can imagine. I mean, his from a young healthy person, young healthy man to I can't. I'm in pain. I can't move. I'm stuck here, basically in limbo between life and death, and then to actually die and then have to be brought back um, a number of times. I mean, it was just, who would have thought? Who would think? I mean, when you go outside and you mow your yard, or go swimming in your pool, do you think, watch out for that mosquito? I mean, we all run from a wasp, but or most of us, but who runs from a mosquito? And that's, I think, is the I think that's what makes the story so interesting, is that it's a fear that most of us don't ever think about. Um, and it's just the miraculous fact that he's even alive today.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was somebody that, I mean, he, at one point, I mean, his doctor had just written him off. Let's just leave him in a medical coma. Let's just leave him there. He's going to be brain dead. He's going to be this and that. And that's just an answer that his family wouldn't accept, and they just refused to accept that. And through different events and through different scenarios and different things, comes to find out that he didn't have brain damage. And and I remember, as part of the story that I thought was really interesting or touching to me, was that when he was paralyzed, the first sign of hope was that he was able to move his big toe. So can you imagine going to being complete mobility to, going through this hell, and then only being able to move your big toe and be excited because that's such progress.
Yeah.
And one of his friends rigged up the TV hospital remote to his toe, made an apparatus so that he could change the channel in one direction with his toe, and he was proud of that. He should have been, so you can imagine what kind of, how bad it must have gotten for him to have been so excited about something like that. And it's and the sad part, I think, at least for me, was that he'll never get back to his former self. The virus took parts from him that he'll never get back.
Yeah.
But he's very, he has a very unusual outlook, and he's not pessimistic, and he's not bitter, and he he gets up every day and he tries, and he to move forward, and he does move forward. And I mean, he's been a big help to us with Uniquelahoma.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that says a lot. I mean, that's true human spirit, of not wanting to give up and accept and be defeated, when, especially at something that's has been so tragic. So I think it's a kind of a warning, feel good type of story, video. It's it's just it's worth the read. I mean, for anybody that ever goes outside, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
In the summertime, and then this is one of the wettest summers that I can ever remember. So the mosquitoes are horrible this year.
Oh yeah. Every time I walk outside, right at my door, there's a bush, and then
Mm-hmm.
every time you walk by the bush, like 10 of them fly out, and they're like,
Yeah, so they're this is, I mean, this is a great a great story to read for such a wet summer, when the mosquitoes are and we had a mild winter, and so there's a lot of factors that play into that, but it's anyway, I hope you read it. I hope people will go and read it, and take precautions when they do go outside, You know, buy a bunch of off or whatever it is that, you know, that you think is going to, you know, keep it away from you. Or buy a bat and just keep it around you all the time. You know, I think they eat their body weight in mosquitoes every night or something. I heard that one time. I don't know if that's true. If that's not true, you can leave a comment.
Well, you know what? I did read an article recently, and it said they've scientifically proven that people that wave the mosquitoes away get bit less often. The mosquito learns that you don't want to be bit, so they go away.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look like an idiot. I flap my arms every time I walk to my car.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but it's anyway. That's you want to talk about the story that's coming up for like next week?
Yeah, you could give a little rundown of what's going to be coming up, so people know what to look for. I think that's a great thing always.
Well, I thought this was, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. So I wanted to, hopefully we could talk about it because I want to touch it on it about what we were talking about earlier about being there and being experienced. I went to last year. I went to the Clary Sage runway fashion show at Canes because my daughter is a designer, and I had never gone to anything like that before. And I mean, I love cars, and and I'm kind of a hippie guy, and I like my, and so, I'm not the ballerina fashion show opera kind of guy. Okay. But you do what you do for your kids because you love them, and I want to support my kids, and so so I wanted so I wanted to go, and I had the best time. Okay, first of all, they served alcohol. Okay, they served wine. So, and I mean, and so it was like it was a huge, fun party. Like it was so much fun. I had a great time.
Yeah.
And anyway, and I really got into to the excitement of it wasn't this dull event that I had kind of thought it was going to be in my mind. And I mean, people are clapping and cheering when these models come out, and they're wearing these flamboyant or outlandish or really cool outfits and stuff. And it was so much fun. So
yeah,
so this year,
crazy.
Oh, it was crazy. It was like I mean, it was it was a big party, and I mean they had hors d'oeuvre. It was great hors d'oeuvre. It was like awesome. I was like, man, I just had a great time. So, well, this year my daughter's is one of the main designers, and anyway, so so I wanted to be a part of this, okay, because it was just like so cool last year, and so I contacted Teresa Knox, and um, and she and I said, hey, I'd like to kind of be a part of this, and I said, my business partner and I, we don't really know if maybe advertising, running you some advertising or or something, but we really feel like, and she was said, oh, anything you can do, we're so excited. She was, I think wow was in the text. She sent back, and so you and I talked about it, and we decided that the story would be the best way to go.
Yeah,
which was great to me because I already have that experience of experiencing that, last year firsthand, so I could bring that kind of energy to it because I remember what it was like. And when my daughter was a student at Claire Sage, um, you know, um, I came in and I let her dress me up. She did all my makeup and turned me into the Joker, the Heath Ledger, Joker from from Batman movies. And it was great. So I mean, anyway, so I'm walking down the halls and I look like just like him. And I mean, she did a phenomenal job because they teach. I don't know what they call it, but I call it movie makeup, but I don't know what they call it. But anyway, and that was one of her projects, and so I said, yeah, I'll be your model. So I've experienced it on other levels as well, and it's a really cool thing what they do there.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with the caliber that these young designers have. It's amazing, and they work really hard. And I know that my daughter puts in a lot of hours on the garments that she makes, and so I wanted to be able to be a part of that this year and highlight that. So I'm meeting with a couple of people from the school, and and on Thursday this upcoming week, and then we're going to get some. So this will be a really fun story. And I have to say this: if you have the same mindset that I had about never going because you think it's going to be dull, I promise you this one is not. This one is
funny.
Not to mention the fact, I mean, if you're a young man, there's a lot of young, beautiful women there. So, I'm an old man, so, I can't look, but you can, so if you're young, you should go.
Yeah, I'm married, so I can't look.
You're married, and I'm old and single, but, it doesn't matter. But there's a lot of beautiful young women, and it's a lot of fun. So you should go. Anybody that's listening that thinks it's going to be a snooze fest, I assure you it's not. And, I mean, it's playing with alcohol is part of your, ticket to get in. So why not?
Yeah. Well, what does you said there was one more thing coming up too, or what was that? I can't remember.
Geez, what did I say was coming up next? It's the Osage Casino. They're building the new, they're building the new casino and all that's a huge, huge deal. And of course they advertise with us, but they're but I kind of known those people for a while because I used to work with them when I owned the Manford when I had the Manford newspaper. So they're a bunch of good folks over there, and they've always been supportive. And I thought this would be a really great way to to kind of highlight to the people of Oklahoma what's coming with the new casino, and I mean there's going to be some really cool stuff that no other casinos that they have. I think they're actually going to even have their own beer. I think they're actually going to make their own beer. So it's supposed to be it's going to be really cool, and so we've got that coming up too. I've got that that in the hopper. So we've got some cool things coming up. We've got and we love suggestions. So, for I don't know how many 2 or 3 of you that are watching or whatever, if you know of any ideas, send them our way because we love them. I mean, we're always looking for ideas. Everybody knows somebody that's doing something really cool. Share it with us, and we'll share it with everyone else. So
yeah, definitely. Well, just to mention the last few things here, we're running a T-shirt contest right now. We've got brand new T-shirt designs out, and you can win, couple T-shirts, or one T-shirt, 2 winners, 1 T-shirt. You get to pick your your choice of T-shirt. We haven't set the schedule for the live stream yet, but maybe Tuesdays at around 8 or something are good. I don't know. What do you think?
Probably work for me. So I'm me, I'm whatever, if I'm out of sleep.
Well, and we might change it in the future, but we'll definitely let everyone know if we're going to change it, and try to pick. We'll try to end up on doing them on a day where most people can join in. It's a lot more fun when you've got people firing questions at you and that kind of thing. So.
Right. So we want you to join in and be a part of Uniquelahoma and engage us, and ask us questions and make us look stupid because we can't answer them. All that fun stuff. Come on, jump in.
we can answer any question. We might have to embellish a little. So
you see why he's the brains? I'm just the artist.
Oh man. I will tell you when I'm playing Minecraft and there's a bunch of people in the chat, it's a lot of fun because they'll ask you questions or tell you to do something, and you get to play off the audience. It's fun. So.
Oh well, that's right up your alley. You're very quick-witted, so
Hey, you told me you like to be clever, so this is your chance.
I'm trying to be clever, and nothing comes to mind when I've got people watching.
Man, that's funny.
But I'll tell you what, I'll think of something and I'll save it for the next one. I'll have something clever. I love clever.
What we should have done is actually send this video out at least to our moms or something. So somebody would watch.
Well, my mom will watch if she's not watching. If Hallmark's on, she won't watch it. No, she'd kill me if she doesn't.
Yeah, that's what we'll base our ultimate schedule on, is the Hallmark schedule. So
Yeah, so if there's nothing good on Hallmark, then she'll squeeze my video in. I'm just kidding. My mom is my biggest fan. She has always been my biggest fan. So and I'm a mama's boy. Oh yeah. So I got a good one. So she's always been the biggest fan, and listens to my why didn't this work? You don't want to get mad and yell. And I could say it's Spencer's fault.
oh my goodness.
No, I'm just kidding. Spencer's great. I just like that. Aggravate. So anyway, I don't know how we sound on here, but I'm sure those 2 or 3 people that watch will let us know. But I've had fun. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Cool. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast. Don't do anything yet, but I'm going to stop it first. So.
Okay, I'm just going to sit right here and